He's a global iconic figure. And because that is the case, at age 25, you don't see anything like that happening ever. The fact that it happened leaves me to believe there's far more damaging information to the story than we know.
I don't know if you just saw the DeAndre Hunter trade.
I did not.
So he got traded to the Cavs.
Okay.
He was averaging 19 and with some points with the...
Who did he get traded for? Because I've been here in this room.
I actually don't know who he got traded for. But,
okay.
But the Cavs are positioning themselves right now.
Yes, they are.
Are they the preeminent force in the East?
No, I'm not going to say that. The Boston Celtics are the reigning defending NBA champions. And until further notice, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
That's who they are. Jason Tatum ain't going anywhere. He's averaging 27 a game.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown ain't going anywhere. He's still there. Kristaps Porzingis is still a 7'3" shooter. And they have a collection of parts spanning 8, 9, possibly going 10 deep from time to time, where these guys know their job, know their roles. They're very cohesive. Plus, they're tried and tested. They've already done it. And so because they've already done it, that's entirely different than somebody who has to prove they can do it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So I would tell you Cleveland can beat Boston. Cleveland can win the championship. Cleveland is that formidable, but in the same breath, let them go out there and do it first.
Yeah. Can the Knicks be a team that beats Boston?
No.
Why not?
Because they don't have the personnel to do it. Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, etc. But that's what you have. Where's your depth? Mitchell Robinson has to come back so Karl Anthony Towns can play his natural 4 position. We don't know if and when that's going to happen. Your bench, got McBride, okay, I got that part. Precious Achiuwa, I got that part. Who else do you have? If you're going to beat the Boston Celtics, if you're going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're going to have to go more deeper than that. And you're going to have to make sure that Tom Thibodeau doesn't exhaust the players that he's utilizing. Because if that happens, where will that leave you? And that's what you got to think about.
Yeah. The NBA, this trading deadline it's been kind of wild. This Luka trade, now that we've had a few days to process it, where do you stand on why it happened and why it happened now?
Well, it happened because they felt that Luka wasn't as transparent and cooperative as he needed to be as it pertained to his rehabilitation, his nutrition, his conditioning. And they got fed up with it because their attitude is we're trying to win a championship and we don't believe we can win it with this guy, even though he's 25 years of age. He averages 28 a game. Mm-hmm. He led the league in scoring, averaging nearly 34 a game last year, and he took us to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
90+% of league executives would not have done this deal, but they didn't work with Luka every day. And so, the Dallas Mavericks made that call. They look at Anthony Davis, who's no slouch. He's a perennial all-star and one of the best big men in basketball, who's good for 25 and 12 a game. And you're talking about taking the ball out of Luka's hands, putting it in Kyrie Irving's hands even more. And you have a formidable front line with Davis, with Gafford, with Lively and these guys. When you think about Oklahoma City with Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren, what do you have? When you think about Jokic in Denver, what do you have? When you think about what is required to be the LeBron James, what do you have? Phoenix, what do you have? So going the route of buffering their front line and elevating their defensive prowess is something they believe was the way to go, and it's hard to argue with that level of thinking because defense does win championships, and their defense improved exponentially with the departure of Luka and the arrival of Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but you understand their thinking. It's just that he's a global iconic figure, and because that is the case, at age 25, you don't see anything like that happening ever.
Yeah.
The fact that it happened leaves me to believe there's far more damaging information to the story than we know.
Yeah.
And over time, we'll find out what the hell that was, because I've seen plenty of executives with guys that are 25 years of age that said, we just gonna have to eat this and tolerate this because we damn sure ain't trading it. This is not something that you see happen with a 25-year-old superstar.
Do you think anyone won that trade?
I think the Lakers won it long term. I think Dallas won it short term.
Interesting. Okay.
I think Dallas is in position to win a championship this year. I think they got the tools to potentially pull it off. I'm not saying they will, but I definitely think they got the tools to get back to the finals. And I think if you're Los Angeles, even though the pickup of Mark Williams from Charlotte is big, because you finally got a legitimate big that's a rim protector, shot blocker, who can give you 15 points a game, that's something they didn't have until last night. So I look at it and I say the Lakers could end up being in a big-time position with the combination of Luka and LeBron. We shall see, but there is no question that long-term, if Luka takes care of himself conditioning-wise, nutritionally, and he's not a headache, there is no question that they won long-term, Lakers.
Now, the Jimmy Butler situation, he was pretty clear about what he wanted, whether it was behind the scenes or not. Do you agree with the way he handled his part of it?
Nobody can agree with the way Jimmy Butler handled it, but I'm not going to condemn him either.
Yeah.
I've been on the record. I think that Pat Riley, the great Pat Riley, made one mistake, and that was looking Jimmy Butler in the face and telling them, we're not trading you. And when you do something like that to a star, particularly one with the temperament of a Jimmy Butler, you're begging for friction. Because he's not going to just stand idly by and accept that. He wants out, and you were telling him he ain't going nowhere. Can't do that. That, to a guy like him, is the equivalent of saying shut up and dribble. It's the equivalent of saying, you play ball, we run the show. That's what that is to him. You don't do that to somebody like him, because you know he's going to respond to that, and it's not going to be favorably. So in that one way, I point the finger at Pat Riley. Not absolving Jimmy from how he elected to conduct himself, but what we have to remember is that it was after he was told he wouldn't be traded.
Right.
So he had to act that way to force a trade. And once he acted that way, they said, we're going to trade him. Well, then why the hell you tell him you wasn't going to trade him? You see, you shouldn't have done that. And so that's what the Miami Heat have to own. That part right there. Not really Miami Heat, it's really Pat Riley. He has to own that. And so one of the reasons I understand why Coach Eric Spoelstra isn't saying much is not just because it's a distraction, but because he ain't going to call out his boss and his idol. He's not going to do that, and he shouldn't. You know, so why talk if you know you really can't say anything? That's why Eric Spoelstra's smart not to say anything. And again, Miami's first-class organization, they are absolutely phenomenal. Class personified from the top on down. I love Pat Riley. I've known Pat Riley for 3 decades. He's in my book, for crying out loud. He is the winner with it. He's phenomenal. But I think he made that mistake in telling Jimmy Butler that, because it invited all of this. And that's what happened.
You mentioned the Suns before. Kevin Durant's name was getting thrown around in trade discussions. The Bradley Beal contract seemed like it was just unmovable. Phoenix now, they're in the same spot that they were.
They got to deal with it because you can't lose Kevin Durant. How many Kevin Durants are there out there?
I mean,
it's one of the greatest scorers in the history of the NBA. 27-point-per-game scorer. Even at age 36, he's still on the basketball court giving it to you. He's spectacular. And so you're not going to find anybody to replace him. And listen, I don't think Jimmy Butler to Golden State is a big move. I think it keeps them right about where they are. Had Jimmy Butler arrived in Phoenix with Kevin Durant and Booker as his teammates, now you're talking championship contention. But Bradley Beal wouldn't waive his no-trade clause. They couldn't get him to waive his no-trade clause. His agent, the agent's son runs the Suns. So he never had to worry about going anywhere. He got his money, and he wants to stay there. Unfortunately, they're not producing that much with Bradley Beal there. And he would have waived his no-trade clause. So it is what it is.